Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the opening press conference of the 2019 season, which is the 120th of Mississippi State football. Certainly fired up for our fans to make the trip down to New Orleans for the opening game. Phenomenal city, great venue. Had the fortune of attending the Steelers-Saints game at the end of last year, which the Steelers lost, which wasn't great, and the Rolling Stones concert. So unbelievable city, lots of things to do. So hopefully our fans will make the drive down there on Friday. Get up early for the kickoff at 11 on Saturday. I guess getting up would infer that you went to bed the night before, so they could do that on their own, but we want them up, we want them ready to roll, and we want them at the stadium for, like I said, the 11 o'clock kickoff. Even though Louisiana is the home team, this will be our first appearance in a neutral venue in the regular season since 2013 against Houston. Currently have 10 players on our roster from the state of Louisiana. It will be our 10th consecutive year where we play at least one game in an NFL venue. We are planning a walkthrough at the Superdome on Friday when we get down there. Talking to some people from the Saints, about lighting and turf and things like that. We thought it would be a good idea. We'll do our normal walkthrough here, but then get down there and just let the kids walk around and kind of get used to things. And you kind of have that Hoosiers moment where they took them into Butler Fieldhouse and the hoops were still 10 feet tall and all that stuff. So we want to have our Hoosiers moment there and make sure they're getting used to the dome. And I want to talk a little bit about our team captains. In addition to Errol Thompson and Darrell Williams, who were selected at the end of spring ball, we had a vote on the 22nd for an additional offense, an additional defense, and additional special teams captain. The team selected Tommy Stevens as our offensive captain by an overwhelming vote. I think he had 3 times as many votes as any other offensive player on the roster. The defensive vote was a little bit closer, but Brian Cole was selected as our defensive captain, and then Cody Schexnayder was picked as our special teams captain. And I think that also speaks to, for Tommy, the belief that his teammates have in him after only being here for a very short amount of time, for who he is as a person, his leadership capability, and his play. Certainly the same for Brian and Cody Schexnayder. I think you're not going to see a guy who bleeds more maroon and white, who is more positive, who has so much energy, and even though he doesn't necessarily factor a great bit in terms of on-the-field play, he's a guy that is a great team player, and I think he definitely earned the right to be a captain, so we're excited about that leadership. From a leadership council perspective, for the true freshman class, DeMonte Russell was voted by his teammates. For the redshirt freshman class, it was Aaron Brule and Fabian Lovett. For the sophomore class, Austin Williams. For the junior class, C.J. Morgan. And then for the senior class, it was Farad Green and Leo Lewis. So we meet with those guys every Sunday night, talk about uniform combinations, talk about the upcoming week of practice, talk about travel gear, odds and ends, anything that's on their mind that they think could help the team. So we had a great initial meeting with those guys last night. Began our prep for Louisiana on Friday, had our first practice. Prepared for them. On Saturday, we had a situational kind of walkthrough, going through all kinds of things that may pop up during the course of the season in all 3 phases. Last about an hour and 15 minutes and got a bunch of real good work in. And then yesterday had a traditional Sunday practice where we got some more work in on Louisiana. So, excited for the rest of the week and to get going. And some notes on Louisiana. Obviously led by Coach Napier heading into his second year, 7-7 overall. He is the offensive play caller. They were the 2018 Sun Belt Western Division champions and played Tulane in the Auto Nation Cure Bowl. And they were selected to win the Western Division again this year. And Coach Napier has worked, for 2 of the greatest minds and most kind of storied coaches in college football, working both for Coach Saban and Coach Sweeney. Rob Sales, the offensive line coach. They were a multiple spread offense. Averaged 31.9 a game last year. Very balanced attack. 218 rushing, 205 passing. The quarterback would be Levi Lewis. We're expecting 585 yards passing last year and 7 touchdowns. Left-handed, very athletic. Throws the deep ball very well. They have 3 very, very talented running backs. Number 9, Trey Ragus. Number 15, Mitchell. And number 4, Calais. All 3 combined for 2,912 yards last year, but all powerful, very quick. And then the wide receiver, number 2, Jamarcus Bradley from Ackerman. 608 yards receiving last year, 10 touchdowns. Very crisp route runner and very fast. So those are the guys offensively. that we're preparing for. Ron Roberts is our defensive coordinator, a mix of 3 and 4 down, 1 and 2 high zones. Throw some man-to-man in there so you get just about everything but the kitchen sink. 15th in the country last year in third down conversion percentage defense, along with forcing 15 turnovers. Chauncey Manick, the defensive lineman, rush end, kind of plays a little bit of a hybrid position. 47 tackles, 8 for loss, and 4 sacks last year. Very high motor with active hands. Farrod Gardner, the inside linebacker, number 7, 50 tackles, a TFL, and 2 PBUs. Shows up in the big games. Played very well both against us and Alabama last year. And then defensive back Michael Jaquette, 47 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 11 PBUs last year. Long, athletic, with good ball skills. Matt Powledge is their special teams coordinator in his second year. Averaged 24 yards a kickoff return last year, which was 17th in the NCAA. Raymond Calais, the kick returner, averages just about 26 per return, which was top 20 in the country. We're expecting Stephen Artigue, the kicker who was injured in 18, to be back this year. Lou Grozo Award watch list in 2017, 70% career on his kicks. And then Jamarcus Bradley is the punt and kick returner, 7 yards a punt return, long at 24 last year, and a long at 55 on the kick return. So certainly Louisiana, a very talented team. And as you see in openers, a lot of it goes into turnover margin, a lot of it goes into special teams play, a lot of it goes into execution. You certainly enter the game with an element of the unknown, where just like us, they've had an entire season to kind of study what they do, find out what they do well, fix what they don't do well, and then look into other people. And that's something in the first game where you don't necessarily have a lot of game. You don't have any game film from this year where that element of the unknown is something you need to be prepared for. So we need to continue to have a great week of practice. Excited to get back on the field Tuesday and get it ramped up, and excited to kick off the 2019 season.
Questions?
So with that, any questions?
Go to Ben in the front.
Coach, what's Willie Gay's injury status going into week 1?
Willie Gay?
Yep.
Willie's still got a lower body injury. He's day-to-day. Tested it out a little bit yesterday, and we're expecting to get back on the field Tuesday. So we'll monitor that. It's kind of been a lingering thing throughout camp, but he's feeling better, and I think we'll get him run around a little bit on Tuesday.
With Keaton entering the transfer portal and things early, what's kind of Keaton's status right now with the team? Is there any chance of a return back? Just kind of where does Keaton stand right now?
Yeah, I love KT. He's a great kid, and certainly was involved in a very healthy and spirited competition, which unfortunately for him, he came out on the short end. And we met the day that we announced it with him, with he and Tommy, and then came back the next day and discussed his desire to put his name in the portal and explore his options. Myself, KT, and Coach Briner met yesterday. We're scheduled to meet again either today or tomorrow and kind of see where he's at with that. But I understand that's part of it, and student athletes are exploring the different possibilities, and I think it's probably most common at that position. But we'd love to have KT back. We're going to continue to talk to him and see where it goes. And like I said, at the end of the day, we made a decision we felt was best for the maroon and white, for our offense and for our team. And KT's checking to see what he feels is best for him. And that's, you look across the country at starting quarterbacks being named, and the next day or so someone going in the portal. So we got a quarterback from the portal. We'd love to keep one. We could potentially lose one, but that's the landscape of college football right now. Portal giveth, and portal taketh away.
Obviously, you're familiar with coaching Tommy. What have you seen in his game compared to when you had him at Penn State to where he's developed to now?
I've seen a lot more maturity and a lot more understanding. And early on in Tommy's career, in kind of 16, and maybe not so much in 17, that he's so incredibly athletic and gifted physically as a runner, as a thrower. He would kind of fall back on those things and maybe not be as precise in the details of it. And what I've seen throughout camp and heading into practice week is a maturation and an understanding of the details. Where maybe in the past he would not change a protection, thinking he could get the ball out if it wasn't picked up, or maybe not go through his reads and kind of improvise. He still has the improvisational skills, but he's doing a much better job of understanding the scheme and how it affects his decision making and his productivity.
And his passing, is that another thing that's improved since you had him at Penn State?
I don't think his passing's ever that's never been an issue. He's always been a guy that could throw the ball well, very accurately. I think what you're seeing, like I said, is increased understanding of the scheme and where to go with the ball and why. And when that's the case, usually you're going to, have the type of camp that he had.
Danny?
Coach, I'm not sure you would try it this year, or if you have, will try it here in Mississippi State, but what's your opinion on a two-quarterback system, and have you ever done that as a coordinator, and just your thoughts on that?
Two in the game at the same time, or rotating quarterbacks?
Rotating series.
No, I'm not a fan, nor have I done that. Maybe by quarter, I could think maybe back to Akron, we did that a tiny bit. But I think, having played the position, and some people have done it successfully, but I don't feel like you can ever have the guy get in a groove. Now, you can have two in the game at the same time, that's a different deal, but I'm not a fan of rotational quarterback play. Steve?
Update on Alan Love or Kareem Walker as they're standing right now?
Kareem will find out by this is Monday, either tomorrow or the next day. And Alan Love's initial appeal was denied, and now we're on the second stage of it.
When you've got a guy like Alan, it's kind of
Initial waiver was denied, and now it's been appealed. I guess that's the best way to say it.
when you've got a guy like that, especially in a position of need where he's kind of in limbo, how difficult is that to kind of manage reps and things like that and get him ready in case he could play, but at the same time maybe hold it back a little bit because some other guys may need those reps?
Yeah, I think that's the one spot on the defensive line where we may not have a Jeffrey or a Braxton right now. We certainly have talented players, but we're gonna have to win and perform with numbers in there. And certainly once during camp it was a little bit different where you can rotate guys through there, but now when you're limited the number of guys who are taking reps with the ones and twos, really to 4 or 5 guys on the inside, I don't think you can, utilize those reps on someone you're not sure they're going to play. So he's down working with the scout team until we get another word, and if and when he's cleared, knock on wood, hopefully when, then we can talk about getting him into the rotation.
Yeah.
You got a great hat collection.
Any update on Tommy Champion's status since they were asked last week or anything?
Tommy Champion?
Yeah.
No, that discipline will be handled internally. No change to Tommy's status.
And suspensions still Friday, Saturday, 4 p.m.
So,
Suspensions for
yeah,
others,
like
Friday,
Bill's
Saturday
mentioned,
still.
any kid who's not going to play in the game for any reason that information will be divulged on Saturday.
Coach, obviously, back to the defensive line and moving James Jackson back to defense. You had mentioned earlier that was a position where you needed depth and he was needed more there. How did James kind of take that conversation when you approached him, and I guess after spring practice about it?
James, he's an awesome team guy. He's like he's a Lionel Richie or Commodore. He's easy like Sunday morning. Whatever you tell him, offense, defense, I think if you ask him to play special teams, he'd do that. But I think the part where he was, I won't say upset, but I think he had seen so much progress on the offensive side of the ball and thinks he has a future there. We told him this is what we need him to do, and he had good experience there under last season. So I think more than anything with Darryl being the starter at center and the backup center not getting as many reps or opportunities during the course of a game as a rotational position like defensive line, I think he saw the ability for him individually and for him to be able to affect the game in a positive manner, that there was a better opportunity for him on defense this year, so he was excited about it.
Coach, how's the addition of Tony Hughes to your staff benefited you in the offseason?
Gosh, I tried my dangest to get him. When I first got hired, and Coach was still at Jackson State. And I don't. If people here who have been around Tony, I mean, first and foremost, he's a great human being and a great person. And comes, fantastic wife and kids. So that's he's a great man, and his prowess and ability as a recruiter. How he coaches the kids and gets along, with everyone on the staff and the kids. I mean, it's immeasurable what he brings to the staff from a coach and a recruiting and really just a culture standpoint. He's an awesome person, and the guy I'm really glad to have had an opportunity to meet and work with.
Logan and Robbie?
You were able to beat Louisiana pretty handedly last year. This is their second year with their head coach too. Just how much different do you expect to see from them this year?
Like most people, they're going to tweak their scheme to match their personnel. And I think anytime you win your side of the division and get to go to a bowl game, things are going well. Won 7 games. But I think having been at a quote group of 5 place or an FCS school that had the ability to jump up and play some 1A schools at Fordham, we were fortunate enough to win 2 of our 4. That this is a game where the kids get fired up, they get excited about playing an SEC West team. So, we're expecting to see their best. And, like anything, year 1 to year 2 is when you're going to see whether it's a freshman becoming a sophomore or an entire program. You see, the most improvement in that year 1 to year 2 jump. So I'm expecting to see the same from them.
Coach, I don't know if I don't remember you covering this earlier when it was asked about Keaton. Is he with the team right now? Is he away from the team?
Keaton's not with the team right
Okay,
now.
but when do you expect a resolution on that, you think?
I don't know. We're meeting, we're talking on a daily basis, and when we find out and he's comfortable with divulging that information, we'll let everyone know.
Tyler and Gary.
I know you can't say anything specifically about players involved in the ruling that came down on Friday, but obviously there are some suspensions that are sort of looming.
Yeah.
How has that changed sort of your preparation for not just this game, but the season moving forward?
Like anything, whether it's a suspension or an injury or guys not being able to play, you kind of sit in on a Sunday and look for people who are available and make the necessary adjustments to the depth chart and the schemes and try to do your best to put your kids in position to be successful. So that's just something where you got to do it on the front end, making sure you're making all the necessary adjustments based on who's available.
Do you envision rotating a lot of receivers on Saturday?
I think we've got a very, probably 3 at the Z position, 3 at the slot, and 2 or 3 at the X position. So, see who gets a hot hand, but the guys have been practicing well, and in a game 1 where the tempo and the speed of it are a little bit different than a practice. We'll see who's got the hot hand.
You mentioned Tommy getting 3 times as many votes as any other offensive player. I mean, what kind of volumes does that speak to his ability to step in? And I guess what have you seen from him just from day 1, getting onto campus and stepping into a leadership role?
Yeah, it's. Did you go to the same school your whole life? Did you ever? No, I mean, so did you ever go to a new school? I mean, it's like being the new kid at school on the first day, and it's. I won't say it's hard, but I think when you get a chance, and I think you all have a chance to sit down and talk with Tommy and meet him. He comes from a good family. He's a very humble kid, but confident in his abilities, and as a guy that can get along with every type of player on the team. And I think that's what's ingratiated him to his teammates, that he came in and wasn't beating his chest and doing a lot of talking and saying, I believe, don't be one of the guys till you're one of the guys. And I think early on he let his actions, through how he was working out and how he was doing the throwing with the guys, speak for themselves. And I think once people got to know him on a personal level basis, he's a really laid back guy. So like I said, for the team to think that much of him, to vote him a captain, and he's only been here since the summer, I think it speaks a lot for him and for his teammates and how they believe in him.
Brian and Robbie.
Sort of a big picture question. Your depth chart quarterback is a grad transfer senior, a redshirt freshman, and a true freshman. Is that sort of the new face of college football, do you think? Do you think the days of having a junior or senior backup quarterback might be over with?
I was trying to digest that, what you're saying. Like I said, the most unique position, probably, and that, not like receiver where you can, rotate a bunch of guys through, or defensive line or one of the other positions that one guy usually plays, and they don't like to sit. So it's, like I said, I just think it's the nature of college football right now that you're going to name a starter, and it's are the guys willing to work while they wait. I think I heard a baseball coach say that in the off season. So it's you got to work with what you have and adjust the numbers through recruiting and take it on a yearly basis. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer to that.
Heading into game 1, does this wide receiver group feel a lot different for you this year than last year? Just the depth and the talent of the depth too that you've added?
Yeah, I think you look at the returners. Cyrus and Steven both returning, Dedrick returning, Austin Williams caught some balls for us last year. Malik Deer's been here a while, and then the addition of Peyton and Zuber, and you got Wap and Cam Gardner who both play some good football for us. So I think it's a combination of returning productivity and guys who are new that have got a lot of talent. So I say it feels different that that last year was more we weren't really anticipating outside of Steven, there weren't many newcomers who played a vital role.
Steve in the back.
Coach, you mentioned Tommy kind of acclimated with Bulldog culture. How much of that was aided by the fact that he had Isaiah Zuber and Javante Payton, as new guys, kind of come in as battery mates while he was working the workouts?
Yeah, I think along with those guys, all the new freshmen, the incoming freshmen, and I think when someone has a similar shared experience to you and you're going through the same thing, obviously Isaiah coming from Kansas State and had a real nice running career there where you're in your last year of eligibility and you're looking to make an impact on the new team with a bunch of new coaches and new players that they're able to go through that experience together and jump right in. So I think those guys have kind of bonded pretty quickly.
When you got here at the end of 2017, obviously it's your first Power 5 job, really a destination job for probably a lot of coaches across the country. Started talking about championships and a championship standard, and a year and a half later, there's probation and all these sanctions and stuff. I'm just wondering how that has sort of changed the outlook on the early part of your tenure here, and just sort of wondering where you're at, dealing with those things while you're still trying to, achieve that championship standard.
The specific to kind of the recent revelations? Yeah, it really hasn't changed anything from my standard. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, you work in a profession where, 18 to 21-year-old kids are forced to make decisions on a daily basis. And they were presented with a situation, made a poor choice and had to deal with the consequence. And at the end of the day, it happened, it was identified, it was reported. We were sanctioned. The kids understand, and they pay the consequence for their choice. And we need to educate them. And this incident or episode, it hasn't done anything to quell my belief or desire to achieve great successes at Mississippi State, nor has it affected recruiting or anything else. So to me, it was something that happened. It was acknowledged, and we're going to move on from it and be better from it.
Joel and Ben.
I know you always say depth chart's written in pencil, not pen. There's an or there with Jordan Wallace and Jace Crispin.
Yeah.
Did Jordan kind of close that gap, and just what's kind of going into that decision for a guy that's kicked for a couple of years to not be solidified, I guess, there as a start?
Yeah, that the season ended and Jace performed pretty well last year and kind of went into spring ball, and Jordan closed the gap and thought it was close enough coming out of spring ball to continue the competition into fall camp, and it had been pretty close there as well. So we're going to let him keep kicking, keep charting the percentages, and obviously Jace has a game experience, so that factors into it. But you also, at a certain point, it's got to come down to the numbers. So we'll see where that goes.
Ben.
Coach, I know you said Willie's injured. Willie approached a number of us the other day and said that he's not injured. What's the status?
Who?
Willie.
Willie Gay?
Yeah, the person over us at practice said that he's not injured. I know that.
Willie's in a red jersey with a lower body injury, and if he were practicing, I promise I'll let you know. He's been out, so that may be Willie's interpretation of it, but I promise you Willie has not practiced. I don't know, maybe we should get him out there on Tuesday. Maybe he's not feeling that good.
With the 8 games, has there been being that they can be selected, is it going to be an 8-game straight through, or was there been a plan developed into what the decision has gone into that? What's maybe the early?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics on that, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. And we'll kind of take that on a game-by-game basis.
Other questions?
Coach, noticed that Javante Jason is number 2 on the depth chart there for ex-receiver. Obviously, he had to go back and deal with some things in New Orleans, but has come back, and what you said last week, the guys have taken him in, and he seems to be a really big part of the team. Just, how big is it for a guy like that to kind of go through some of the things that he did, and now he's going back home to play in the Superdome, and he could be a really big part of that game.
Yeah, like he and Marcus dealing with a bunch of personal issues. We gave Wap the time and space to kind of go home and reflect and be with his family and make the decision whether being back in Mississippi State was something that benefited him from an academic and athletic standpoint. And I think some of the things that he needed to do back home he felt comfortable with. And he's a great kid, a fantastic member of the team. And more than anything, I think being back around the guys, I think has helped him as much as going home and take care of those things. So, played some last year, had some nice catches, and I think he's a young guy with a very bright future.
It? All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Popeye's or Chick-fil-A sandwich?
I don't know, I hear the Longs line. I've not had Popeyes
Not
yet,
worth it.
so if you want to bring one in, I'd love to have it. Thank y'all. Y'all stay.